Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome you once again to Wednesday nights with myself, Inayat Wadi. Wonderful being with you, with our viewers and listeners at Salam Media. Now, this evening, we've got quite a huge panel during the first hour of the show. And we are talking about service delivery. Now, this is an issue that is on everybody's lips, and we don't see it only in Lenasia that we are focusing on tonight, but right across the entire country, there are major issues with regard to service delivery, the issues surrounding crime, and also we see right around us the crumbling infrastructure that is unfolding day in and day out. And this is the reason why this discussion is absolutely necessary and focusing on Lenasia in itself. Now, for many of us who know Lenasia, obviously, Lenasia is it's a massive area, an area where, people, hundreds of thousands of people basically reside, but also looking at Lenasia, it is a city within a city. And it is actually sad to see the area degenerating to the extent that it has been degenerating. And this is the reason why we have assembled this panel tonight. We've got Wasim Kamruddin, who is a media personality. We've got Councillor Imraan Moosa, Ward 9, Councillor Nokuthula, Nofemela, Ward 10, Ebrahim Asvat, Chairperson, Lenasia CPF, Zarina, Motala, community activist. We also have got Imraan, Seedat from the Lenasia Residents Association. And it's time now across to go and welcome our panelists who are with us. And just to remind our viewers that you can view the proceedings live. You can view this panel discussion live on our YouTube and Facebook platforms. I see Wasim Kamruddin is already with us. Wasim, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Inayat.
Yes, welcome and jazakallah for your time with us now. We are talking about three issues here: Lenasia, service delivery, crime, and crumbling infrastructure. And this obviously has been prompted by a few Lenasia residents who got to us here at Salam Media, who mentioned that, you know what, you need to do a program because to see Lenasia degenerating to the extent that it is, it's of major concern to the residents of Lenasia, Wasim.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Inayat, yes, Lenasia, I would say, is probably at its worst state that it's ever been in its history. Infrastructure is in a terrible state. Service delivery, it's not of the greatest standards. And of course, crime is rampant in Lenasia. And there's a lot of distrust of the police in Lenasia and a lot of the authorities. And so it's really starting to degenerate in quite a significant way. And that's very unfortunate to see. And it's probably at its worst level in its history.
Yes. Now, obviously, Wasim, if you could just maybe, you've mentioned it in a few words, but just paint an overall picture looking at, obviously, the people, the residents, and I'm sure you are on the ground, you speak to many people, and I'm sure that there are many concur with you. They would share exactly the same sentiments that you are sharing. And looking at where we are, and we've got councillors that are responsible for those areas as well, and those the various wards as well, and just looking at the level of engagement that residents are having with the powers that be.
Yeah, there seems to be quite a significant disconnect. I speak here as a resident, firstly, as someone who's lived my entire life in Lenasia, almost 3 or 4 decades. And I also speak as someone who is in touch with the people of Lenasia. And I can see the tremendous dissatisfaction that many of them have with the situation in Lenasia. And they feel that the powers that be they councillors, be they the municipality, be they the police, be they the many so-called leaders of the community, they feel that they've let them down. And what is starting to develop is the people are now starting to group together and develop strength in numbers with each other in order to oppose the things that the powers that be are implementing in Lenasia. I mean, a classic example is the taxi rank, which has got quite a redundant upgrade. If you look at the taxi rank, the way it looked before and the way it's now looking now after this multi-million rand upgrade, it essentially still looks the same. And people feel that that same money could have been used for infrastructural upgrades, for building maybe more clinics, schools, improving the police station or something like that. So there's tremendous distrust, and it's very sad to see how Lenasia has become. And the people now have realized they've got to stand together, and that's why groups like the Lenasia Residents Association have formed, in order to now champion the causes and the complaints and the gripes that the people have when they see how Lenasia has terribly degenerated in this last decade or so.
Shukran for it, Wasim. I just want to get all the other panelists on screen so that we can continue this discussion. And as Wasim has basically painted a picture, and I'm just waiting for my engineer to get the other panelists on a screen. And I'd like to actually go to Ibrahim Asvat, who is the chairperson of the Lenasia CPF. And because we are talking about crumbling infrastructure, we're talking about service delivery. And I see Imraan Moosa is on as well. Imraan, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakallah Inayat. Always a pleasure to be on Salam Media, especially with an important aspect like the infrastructures of Lenasia. And I think it's more of a national problem than rather a local problem.
Well, it certainly is a national problem, and this is what I said right at the beginning. And while we are still just waiting for all the other panelists to appear on screen, Imraan, I'm not too sure how much you heard in terms of what Wasim had to say. I see the other panelists are now joining us as well, and we're going to go across to them. So I just want to, before I get to you, Imraan Moosa, I want to get to Ibrahim Asvat, who is the chairperson of the Lenasia CPF, because when I look at the topic, Ibrahim, we're talking about service delivery, crime, and crumbling infrastructure. Now, clearly, there is a correlation between the two. You know, generally, people tend to think that the CPF is just there in terms of, looking after the community's needs from a security perspective. But I'm sure that there are many CPFs, and I'm sure, like yourselves as well, service delivery is also part and parcel of some of the responsibilities that you have toward the residents of Lenasia.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I think Inayat, service delivery plays a major part. Firstly, because if there's no lights, crime thrives. If there's no in any adversity, criminals look for an opening. But we also need to look at Lenasia in its totality, how it has grown. Lenasia is not the same Lenasia we had 30 years ago. We have an extra 6 informal settlements around Lenasia now. And unfortunately, or fortunately, we have to police those areas. And service delivery plays a major part, because all of them supposed to coincide with each other in night.
Well, certainly, Ibrahim, and we'll just bring. Okay, I just want to bring Zarina Motala in because just the monotony the monotony of listening to male voices all the time. So we need to break it every now and then. Zarina, assalamu alaikum to you.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Salam to the panel as well.
Zarina, I know you've been involved extensively in Lenasia over the years, and as a community activist. And I think at a time like this, and we see this right across the entire country, as Ibrahim Moosa alluded to early on, this is a problem, and community activism is coming a lot more to the fore now, where communities are now starting to mobilize as well, and particularly when it comes to the bread and butter and the day-to-day issues. And just your initial thoughts.
Okay, yes, I think communities are beginning to mobilize, and maybe rightly so. I think community activism is extremely important, provided it's channeled and done in a proper way, where your points are made and somebody there listens to you. I want to make a very important point, and we're talking about the infrastructure in Ayat, is that I don't know how many people are aware that the Auditor General today presented her report on the 2021-2022 financial year. And certainly, she's really made some scathing remarks on the audit report, where it shows that the city has regressed from 2016 up to now, and there's been no improvement. So certainly with the supply chain management and the infrastructure, I think it's really an indictment on the people that are serving, that's your mayors, your municipal managers, officials in high places. And this is why the communities are totally dissatisfied. Because as you rightly saying, things are crumbling around us. But who's listening, and how do we as community activists channel our concerns into the proper structures where people actually get listened to? So the lack of accountability, and it's something that the Auditor General talks about in a report. There's just no accountability. So apart from councillors, I'm saying there are committee meetings, when there are committee meetings such in IAT, it's so important for all councillors that are our public reps to read these reports and to ask the proper questions and ensure that they get the proper information so they can feed it into the communities. And this is not happening, unfortunately. So you see dissatisfaction, you see communities arguing amongst one another. And I think it's good for all of us to rally, but I think we just need one voice, and we need to hold people in government accountable. And I'm talking about all spheres of government. I talk about NGOs, I talk about the public sector, I talk about accountability across. But maybe in on another show, I just want to quickly say, I am a community activist, former councillor, but I'm involved in another project where we talk about community activism and to take it to another level. So that's a whole other show for another time. But it's very good to have our active citizens and people to talk about their dissatisfaction. But I want to call for activism to channel things in a proper direction and to hold all our public representatives accountable in all spheres of government. That's extremely important.
Well, Zarina, shukran for that. We definitely will obviously consider having another show. And I think it's absolutely necessary. Moosa, Zarina spoke about the powers that be. Now, the first point of call when we're talking about powers that be are the local councillors, and then escalating whatever concerns, whatever complaints, whatever residents obviously need, taking it to another level. And just looking at, I know your experience as a councillor, and I know you've been very, very actively involved also within the Lenasia community. Now, just looking at your involvement until now as a, just take us through some of the issues, some of the challenges on the question of service delivery, the crumbling infrastructure.
Sorry, I didn't get you the last part there. There's a crackle in the sound. I didn't hear the last part of what you were asking.
Yes,
you can kindly re-ask.
Is the question?
Yes, I just wanted Imraan's thoughts on the issues surrounding the service delivery, crime and crumbling infrastructure, considering that the local councillors are the first point of call, or I would say the go-between the powers that be and the residents, and being the elected representatives of these communities that they represent.
Thank you. Jazakallah khairan, Inayat. Can you hear me? Hello? Inayat, can you hear me? Inayat? Can you hear me?
Yes,
we can hear you.
Can you hear me now? Hello?
I think, Imraan, possibly there may be a slight problem as far as your signal is concerned. I think, for some reason or the other, you seem to be going off, and we'll just try and get back at you. I just want to get Imraan Seedat, or I would say, I've got Nokuthula, Nofemela on the phone, and I thank you and welcome.
Well, thank you.
Nokuthula, good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
Yes, very well, thanks. Nokuthula, if you could just speak up, please, because you are pretty faint.
Good evening. How are you?
All right, thanks. And you, Nokuthula?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. I just wanted your thoughts as a councillor on the issues that we are discussing. And I'm not too sure how much you heard of the earlier discussion that was by some of our Lenasia. I just need your thoughts on some of the issues, particularly the issues that Zarina has with regard to the powers that be that are not listening at this point in time. Just your experience.
Your line is breaking. I can hear you at some points, and others I didn't capture everything you were asking.
United, it seems like there's a problem on your side because we're all having the same problems.
Okay, we're gonna try and see. I don't. On my side, it seems to everything seems to be in order for some reason or the other. Nokuthula, can you hear me again?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, fine. All right. Did you hear my question?
No, you were breaking. Some parts I didn't capture.
Okay, as a councillor, you are the representative of the people of the ward that you represent. Okay, what happens, or from your experience, what happens when residents complain about issues surrounding service delivery, and you as a councillor need to escalate this to the powers that be, and we are hearing that the powers that be are not listening?
As a ward councillor, our job is limited to a certain point. Ours is to take the complaints from the community and escalate them to relevant departments and do follow-ups if there's no movement from those entities. However, if there's challenges regarding issues, for example, like budgets or things that are stuck within the entities, we cannot enforce going beyond that point because some things are stuck to those municipal entities. For example, Ebrahim was talking about the issue of streetlights. We have been escalating complaints from residents about streetlights since last year when we were sworn in as ward councillors. So some things are beyond our control. I do acknowledge that there is a problem with the infrastructure and the state of crime and the stats that we have are not looking good. However, we can do so much, and we don't like how things are, but it's very sad that there is so much we can do for the community.
Thank you for that. And I just want Imraan Moosa's comment on that as well, because Imraan, Nokuthula is talking about limitations. And in your experience, are these limitations there, number one? And number two, that you have been elected for a specific reason, for a specific purpose, to take care of the needs of the community. And surely there should be absolutely no limitations as far as you as a councillor doing your job goes.
Thank you, Inayat. I think it's a very, very important question. And this will really give a clear perspective in terms of, an understanding the dynamics of city and the community and myself as a councillor. Obviously, as Nokuthula has just mentioned earlier, that budgets are a constraint. I think, let me look at it from a national perspective rather than a local perspective. In recent years, COVID has impacted tremendously on South Africa. With the result, much of the finances have been used for the purposes of medical and other reasons for COVID. So like the PPE, etc., right? So most of the budgets have been eaten up into the COVID in the last couple of years. With the result, it's impacted on many of the financial budgets to be presented in other departments. So one of the slogans that I've been running with is #ILoveLenasia. Now, when we talk about the infrastructure of Lenasia and my accountability and responsibility as a councillor, I think, that the tremendous support will prove on its own that I've been extremely vibrant from the time the by-elections till now. It's about 1 year and 3 months. And I've run 2 campaigns. Besides the 2 campaigns, been running service delivery as well with a hostile ward committee. just to give you some of the challenges we're having. And then you also have organizations, that are rather, I would say, not proactive, but rather negative towards some of the city's, projects that are taking place presently. So insufficient budgets are some of the experiences of challenges we have due to the COVID impact, unemployment, and mainly, I would say, the whole of South Africa is under siege in terms of housing. Now, housing is a very, very serious issue in South Africa. If National does not sort out housing, we as Lenasians or any other constituent in Johannesburg will always suffer. And the reason I'm saying this is that as long as there's no housing, automatically infrastructure will suffer in the constituents, because you must remember that it creates a strain, because once you have informal settlements near constituents, right, automatically the strain of city power, water, and many of the other services from councils make it very difficult for services to be presented to the constituent. So besides COVID, besides unemployment, we also have the informal settlements that are surrounding Lenasia and many of the other areas in the south, like Lenasia South and many of the other areas. But the important thing to learn, and we as humans, as humanitarians, should appreciate that in as much as there are problems in our country, we have two choices. In as much as all the contributions of the challenges we have in South Africa, we have two choices. One is that we become proactive, engage ourselves in a manner that finds solutions, and not just solutions, but help the city to understand what the problems are and assist the city in order to achieve our goals in terms of infrastructure or any other difficulties and challenges that we have as the nations, or rather better still, as South Africans. So we have a choice in terms of contributions in South Africa, and the choice is negativity against proactivity. And this is the mindset I've been running in Lenasia, to create that proactive engagement, because if city cannot provide, and in recent times, especially in the last year, we've proven that in as much as COVID is here present, right? We had, for example, we had a temporary hospital put up at Nur al-Islam for COVID patients. So what it meant is some doctors couldn't operate due to the fact that there wasn't enough beds, right? So what I'm trying to explain here is that in as much as the city is to be blamed and National is to be blamed for housing, we as proactive citizens should also look for solutions within our environment to make it as conducive as possible. So finding solutions is one, and second is implementing them in a proactive engagement or attitude towards city and ourselves. Recently, the city has offered many, many opportunities. And what's forthcoming from my experience in the last couple of years is that some of the role players have not really assisted the city in a positive manner to achieve these goals and aims. And those are one of the problems that we have, is that there's no collaboration between some of us that are disunited. With respect to some
Imraan, can I just want to stop you there for a minute as well. I want to get to Nazar Lunat now. And obviously, Imraan, you've said so much, and you're talking about being proactive and the negativity. But how can a person be positive when you see so much negativity around? When you see a crumbling infrastructure spending year after year, when you are a ratepayer, when you are a taxpayer, and when are you going to get value for your money? Because as an ordinary resident, those are the things that are top of my mind. That is the top of my list. How do you explain to a guy who doesn't have electricity? How do you see, how do you remain positive when you see a pothole as big as a crater? I mean, these are day-to-day experiences that people go through. And sometimes it's at a huge cost to themselves, a huge cost to their pockets, because at the end of the day, they are not getting their money's worth in terms of paying taxes or even in terms of paying their rates. Nazar.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
I think you said a mouthful, Inayat. in that we agree that we have a national crisis with regards to infrastructure, with regards to the disconnect, service non-delivery. We are speaking today, obviously, about Lenasia. Lenasia is nothing special in terms of the service delivery or non-service delivery and other ills. It is but one part of a bigger puzzle. I think in all fairness, we must say that something doesn't just crumble. Our infrastructure didn't crumble overnight, or nor did it crumble in the last 4 years. It was over a sustained period of time. And the fact of the matter is, as residents, as taxpayers, as activists, we do our share, but the bulk of it is in the hands of the powers that be, whether it be ward councillors, whether it be the mayor. I think generally there's a great sense of dissatisfaction with regards to the services that are being delivered. When you look at crime, for argument's sake, remember the views that I'm sharing is not necessarily my views. As an activist within the community, obviously we are speaking from time to time with members in the community, and members in the community are of the opinion that the CPF, which ought to be spearheading the interests of the community, particularly with regards to safety and security, is but the PR for SAPS. So you have people that are elected in positions, but then the people that have elected them have lost confidence in them. And I think the CPF can do much more. We agree that with informal settlements, that service, the areas for that needs to be service grows. But I'm yet, as an individual, I'm yet to see a police vehicle patrolling. So as much as areas grow, the lack of proactive policing doesn't help us, in particularly with our crime hotspots that aren't being monitored. And these are crime hotspots that have been there all along. I mean, take for argument's sake, take today. Today we've been informed of two business robberies. In the area where I stay, within 3 weeks, we've had one house break-in. We had 2 house break-ins, 1 attempted house break-in. You phone in the police. There's a house that has been broken into. That is still waiting for the police to come. You're getting citizens that are complaining that some are getting preferential treatment with regards to crime reporting and with regards to cases that are being opened up. If you are a public rep, you are getting a better service. If you are an ordinary citizen, you have to beg, you have to plead for service. And it's a sad state of affairs, unfortunately. And as much as we want to talk about positivity, I agree with you. How can one be positive when the service delivery is negative, when everything else is negative? It's difficult, and one is at a loss of words. But it's a sad state of affairs when those that are in power abuse their powers for self-gain. When you have elected officials that are rather rallying to be recognized for work that are doing, that would rather be rallying to be awarded and to receive awards, and you are not serving the people that you're supposed to be serving. Rightly, like you're speaking about the potholes, and then residents are told to go sit in potholes. I mean, it's sad. It's really, really a sad state of affairs that people will be re-elected, or other people will be elected. The hope is that things will change, but nothing changes. The only thing that changes are the people that are there.
Yes,
we find ourselves in a very sad state, unfortunately.
Shukran for that, Nazar. I'll bring Imraan into the discussion. Now, Imraan,
can I make one more point before you bring Imraan in, please, man? With regards to the high crime rate, so what you have the new phenomenon. The new phenomenon is that you have a gated Lenasia. That we seem to think that putting up gates is going to be the solution. When you have, for argument's sake, people like the chairperson of the CPF that is promoting putting up gates, when we are not hearing where the police are being held accountable for the lack of service or the disconnect in the service, and we then tend to promote unsustainable security measures, that all that it does on an already burdened citizen, that now People have to, for their own safety, contribute towards the erection of gates. And then with the gates, you need manpower. So now you need to be contributing towards security. Why do we have SEPs? If we must continue paying our municipal services, and then we must continue paying private services for exactly the work that's supposed to be done by those that are in power or the oversight thereof. So we find that because of the high crime rate, our community members have been taken advantage of.
Well,
It's
definitely, and I
unfortunate.
think as you mentioned, there are non-service delivery, and it is coming at a huge cost. It's coming at a huge price, and this is where I'd like to bring Imraan Seedat in, who is with the Lenasia Residents Association. Now, Imraan, in the past, we know that any residents association and residents association traditionally, as we have known them, carried a lot of weight. They had a lot of power in terms of being an organization representing the interests of residents. And just looking at, once again, an organization like the Lenasia Residents Association, in terms of the type of input you can give, in terms of type of influence you can have to address issues that are impacting on residents.
Jazakallah, Inayat, and Assalamu alaikum to all the guests and the listeners. Inayat, I just want to say thank you again for inviting us. Salam Media for inviting me on. The notice that came on, I'm not the Ward 8 councillor. With regards to what Zarina Motala has mentioned in terms of accountability, the Lenasia Residents Association's mandate and objective is accountability and looking at holding accountable the relevant authorities to service deliveries or deliver on what they need to deliver for us. We do have a mandate. We are responsible for doing, as you've mentioned, have a big voice to say. However, we find a lot of obstacles as the Lenasia Residents Association when we dealing with authorities, we're dealing with councillors in terms of recognizing the body that was formed. The body was formed and created, and we have engaged with city. We continuously try to engage with city and all entities in order to serve and better Lenasia, like you guys have mentioned, like Nazar has mentioned, the huge potholes, the burden on residents that have different options, different projects, not accepted those projects and turned it away to that regard. But we have to ask ourselves, as you've mentioned, as a paying the city and according to the policy, rates and tax policy.
Yes, Imraan, I think you are breaking up slightly. We're going to try and see if we can.
Documents
could just continue
according
talking, please.
to their
You are breaking up
mandates.
slightly. Yes, I think we are having a bit of a problem. Possibly if Imraan comes on audio, we could possibly get him, because sometimes the signal strength is influenced by having video as well. But we just want to continue with Wasim Kamruddin. And Wasim, I think we're listening to all the panelists and looking at it from your perspective. Now, one of the key issues that we see is powers that be. And fingers seem to be pointed at powers that be, whether these are municipal managers or we're talking about at provincial level and also at national level. And this is where I think one of the biggest problems lie, because, we see party politics actually playing out in terms of giving you preference as to who you want to serve and who you don't want to serve. A clear example, there was the the local government elections that had taken place. And I know in Durban, there was a group called the Citizens Active Association or Citizens Coalition. And these are people that are made up from the community. These are people that have served the community in various capacities, whether it's CPF level or other levels. Now, these are people that they put up candidates to serve the local needs of the communities. But unfortunately, they didn't do well. But once again, you know, when one looks at party politics, and when we're talking about the big parties and how they actually influence the agenda when it comes to servicing the needs of communities, Wasim.
Yeah, that is correct, Inayat. I mean, we see it in Lenasia a lot, that a lot of the measures that get implemented here, you can clearly see it's part of party policies and not really something that's taken into consideration the actual needs and wants and wishes of the people of Lenasia. And this is why, I mean, similar to what you mentioned in Durban, I think it was in the 2016 municipal election, we had for Lenasia's 3 wards, we had independent candidates who came from activist groups who ran for ward councillor positions. We saw in the last election, in the 2021, I think it is, the most recent one, we saw an individual like Imraan Seedat, who has an impeccable record with the community of Lenasia as an activist. We saw him run for that election as well. And this is because the people of Lenasia, like I'm sure most other communities elsewhere, have a tremendous amount of distrust towards political parties and their respective candidates and what exactly their intentions are for a particular town. And you can't blame the people. The people want representatives that reflect their wishes. And Lenasia is a prime example of that. The people of Lenasia want representatives, be they councillors, be they government officials, municipal workers, etc., who adequately and properly reflect their wishes and are not influenced or swayed by party politics either which way. A classic example is, look at the taxi rank. The people of Lenasia did not want that, but somehow it got approved. And we can see the numerous offshoot disasters that have come about due to having implemented something that was clearly against the wishes of the general public of Lenasia. And that needs to change.
Well, it certainly needs to change. And also, Ebrahim, Asvat, you know, from what Wasim is saying again, that, you know, looking at councillors and how close are councillors to the people on the ground, and more importantly, to assist people like yourselves, people who are concerned about the community and, you know, as I mentioned, not only taking care of the security needs, but as Imraan mentioned, we've been through a COVID era, you know, where it's been difficult. It's been extremely difficult. And until now, we haven't even recovered. But organizations like the CPF complement the work that the government is doing, complement the work that the government should be doing. And I think sometimes even CPFs go a lot more. In fact, they go the extra mile more than the government departments or the officials, whether we're talking about the police, whether we're talking about those that are responsible for other services. They go more than the extra mile to take care of the needs of residents.
I think, Inayat, to simply put it, the CPF has an oversight role over the police, which we do. If activists, I mean, if an activist like Zarina can come and sit with us and go through it and she understands the oversight role, other activists should just do the same. And what happens if we have to tie our hands behind our back and say we're waiting for SAPs and we're waiting for the government and we're waiting and we're waiting, the crooks will walk in your house and do as they please. So the CPF, we had to roll up our sleeves. We had to join forces with SAPs. SAPs has got no resources. We all know that. It's common knowledge that SAPs is under-resourced. But we got off our behinds and rolled up our sleeves and we went in and we made a difference. I mean, in Lenasia, you got 500 patrollers who patrol every night when people are sleeping from 12 o'clock to 4 o'clock. Patrollers are on the road every evening. We have meetings every Monday. Every Monday we set hotspot times. We cover hotspots. And that's not with us, that's with SAPs. But remember, that's with limited resources at SAPs. And then if any activist was willing to come, we can show them how we've applied for resources, how we've given our oversight reports, how we've asked for extra resources, how we've complained, how we've asked for Lenasia. But it's common cause in Lenasia. People will sit back and say, yes, this one's not doing that and not doing that. come join the cause. The cause is there. It doesn't belong to anybody. It belongs to the Lenasians. And it's time that we get up and try and make a difference and be the difference. It's a very different job when you're sitting back and you have nothing and you have to make do with nothing. But we are making do with nothing and we're making a difference. Now we hold SAPS accountable, and if it doesn't come, do we sit back and say, okay, fine, SAPS is not giving it, let us all just for rollover? We can't. Our community depends on us. And I've got people in this community that work day and night to make sure that people are safe in Lenasia. But that is with SAPS. We are not spokespersons of SAPS. We are an oversight committee over SAPS. The activists on this panel need to understand that. And what we do is we as an oversight committee, we report to the MEC. We report to the provincial commissioner. If they want to, they gladly can come in and see the oversight reports. They can, an activist like Zarina, she knows, she comes to our meetings. Our councillor Imraan, he attends our meetings. Everybody's invited to our meetings. Wasim Kamruddin has been involved with us. I'm surprised at some of the comments, but what I'm saying is we can't keep on complaining and saying this thing is not happening. We need to make the difference. And to make the difference, we need to get involved. And if there is somebody that can take our complaints maybe to a higher level, we'll welcome it. Zarina's been with us in meetings where we went to top level government. We got some changes and it's still in process. So I'd really, really like to appeal to everybody, and the mudslinging and the stuff doesn't help anybody, but the working together and strengthening our ties and making us stronger as a community, we can achieve. But if we're going to attack each other and we're going to try and bring each other down when people are doing good work, we're just doing a disservice to our community.
Yes, Jazakallah for that, Ebrahim. Imraan, I just want to bring you back into the discussion because we lost you there. And in all fairness, I need to give you the opportunity. And you were articulating the, obviously, the Lenasia Residents Association and some of the issues that you are faced with.
Are you talking about Imraan Seedat or Imraan? Sorry.
Yes, Imraan Seedat, sorry. Imraan Seedat, yeah.
Jazakallah Maaf. I'm going to keep my video off just for communication. Maybe it will make things easier. With regards to what was said, there's a lot that's been said tonight, a lot from everybody that's coming in. And with what Ebrahim will find a way moving forward. Look, discussions like this open up and there could be a lot of name calling and that sort of stuff. There is concerns from what we were meant to discuss today in terms of service delivery, crime and crumbling infrastructure. I think a period of time for these things to happen. And from my side, I would personally blame the politicians that were involved, because these political decisions is what has brought us to the situations we find ourselves today. From simple things such as the Scholar Transport Exchange Facility that was pushed in 2015, brought back today again, our decorative upgrade of our taxi rank that was pushed 25 million rands, a 75 million rand project, one phase being 25 million rand. These are monies that should be used in terms of maintaining infrastructure. That is what Wasim was trying to add on earlier on. So in terms of adding infrastructure, that's where it becomes a problem. Now, Councillor Moosa has mentioned that we object to projects that come into the city, from the city to us. I think what we need to understand is, as residents, as ratepayers, that we speak as one, and we understand that when we pay for your rates and the people that are making the decisions, for example, the taxi rank. The taxi rank decision was made by certain individuals in 2007. It was upgraded again in 2019. The project was brought forward in 2020. The decision to upgrade this project has no benefit to the rates and taxpayers of Lenasia. We need to recognize, understand, and see that in its full capacity. As the taxi rank is being upgraded and completed as it stands, when it's done, it would be handed over to the taxi associations. Now, the taxi associations don't pay for rates and taxes. The residents of Lenasia pays for rates and taxes, and the city has taken it upon themselves to take the money from the rates and tax people and give it to people that don't contribute towards that. They are unregulated. They are private taxis, not public tax. They are not subsidized or regulated in any way. Now, that being said, you've also got to look at the issue with the scholar transport. The scholar transport and the taxis, the infrastructure from 10 years ago to now, as the densification of Lenasia has increased dramatically. With that increase, like Ebrahim has mentioned, there's a lot of people coming in, a lot of crime that would follow it at the same time. So you've got a huge influx. Government, from the city level to province to national, has not taken the time to come in, look, reevaluate. Now, this is not just Lenasia, it's nationally as we see. But what we're focusing on is Lenasia. Lenasia has and will always be the hub of Region G. It's the central point that moves up and down. So the traffic impact studies, the crime impact studies, the densification, all these things put together causes a huge impact on our crumbling infrastructure. This is where we are standing right now. In order for us to move forward, we need to understand what our budgets are in terms of what we receive from the city of Johannesburg, not what the city budget is. Now, I know Zarina mentioned that the Auditor General, and there was a finance speech the other day with regards to what was being said and what the monies are being used for. It should be very bitter. It should be a very bitter taste to ratepayers, because if you paid attention to what Judy Sotheby for revenue from the city has mentioned, is that they are looking to upgrade taxpayers' money taken away and decided by people sitting in the city of Joburg, 20, 30 kilometers from Lenasia, that the informal settlements needs the upgrade, while the formal residents that are contributing to that dilapidate time and time and time again. So as the residents of Lenasia, as Lenasia as a whole, whether we're sitting as a ward councillor, CPF chair, media, whoever we are, we need to understand that the city is taking our monies and giving it to people that don't contribute towards it. This impacts us from every level, from our education, our power supply, our infrastructure, our service delivery, our crime. So sitting together as we're sitting as a panel here, a decision needs to be made, a unity needs to be made in some sort of positive way going forward. Our councillors need to tell us when they go to city and they represent us. For example, the rates and tax policy meetings, the rebate discussions that will happen, councillors represent us. They go to councillors, they give a go ahead, a no, a yes to whether the communities will accept it. But the communities don't hear from council, from X, Y, and Z. This is what we're supposed to do. For example, the debt review policy that is now currently running, there's a program that's running for us to apply for debt rehabilitation, but at the same time, while the project is going on, what we're seeing is cutoffs happening for people. These are the same people that were supposed to be applying for these things. So there's sort of a inconsistency from government as to which way things should be done or how it should be done. Communication is lost. So as residents, we need to figure out, as ratepayers, how much are we going to accept, and how much, when we draw the line in the sand and say that's enough, we're standing up and we're taking the place back. So I think, that being said, we can take it from there and see how we can grow, rather than, like Ebrahim saying, mudslinging, throwing, calling names and move forward. Positivity for Lens is what we should all be looking forward to. We are going to live here, if not us, our children. So the best interest of all of us is at heart. And I think let's move forward positivity in terms of how and what we can do to hold government accountable. Thanks.
Shukran for that, Imraan. And just to bring Zarina back into the discussion, and Imraan said so much actually, and I think a lot to actually think about when he speaks about things like the representatives that are representing the residents, for instance, the councillors, and he speaks about policy and policies that impact on the residents, and at the same time in terms of transparency as to how the residents, their rates and taxes, how the monies that they are paying into the authorities, to the municipalities, and how they are being used, and also huge question marks with regards to budgets and how these budgets are actually allocated. And again, he speaks about consistency. He says inconsistencies obviously are not on, but also with inconsistency, we'll find that there's inefficiency that is built in. And I think that is one of the biggest problems as far as efficiencies go. And this is the reason why money is not being used efficiently. Budgets are not allocated efficiently. As a result, services are not offered efficiently as well, Zarina.
Thank you, Inayat. I think a lot has been said by all the on the panel and including Imraan. I just want to talk about, we talk about this buzzword accountability for action. And this is where community civic activism is extremely important. I look at the recent IDP that we held. I mean, if you look at the representative from the Lenasia community, I was at the IDP, it was during Ramadan, it was only about 6 people. And in a way, I can't really blame the community because it's like we've been there, we've done that, nothing has changed. So we all know it's no secret, South Africa as a whole has a huge accountability crisis, I think at all levels of government. Again, I want to talk about this new project I'm involved in. It's like I'm saying, and it's a time for another discussion. But what I want to say is, as community activists, we need a bottom-up approach and not the top-down where you have officials, mayors, and MMCs making decisions for the community. So for us to get together, talking about budgets, I think it's a big concern for the community of Lenasia. How do budgets get allocated? It gets allocated per department and not per area, okay? And our councillors as representatives have some say in that, even through their parties, and say, in my ward, I have A, B, C, and D. So really, local ward councillors are at the coalface of communities, hence it will always be pressure on them. But I think all councillors know that, and that's just the way things work. But I want to really just say we must continue to provide hope. I think all is not lost. We must have accountability. And for me, that is the main issue. If there's no accountability by public reps, anyone in NGOs, all organizations, how do we even promote accountability in our communities, in our homes? That is the thing that we all need to come together with. And civic activism, to take it to another level where we agree on things, and then we have what is affecting your community. How does your councillor take it to the municipality? A councillor is not just there to escalate calls. They are there to speak in committees. When you're tabling a report, a councillor must then say, in my region, A, B, or C hasn't happened. You're looking at the Auditor General report. I mean, it's scathing, absolutely scathing. It's a huge document. I haven't read the full document, but just reading what is there, it's really talking about people that are under account. It's an indictment on the community. I mean, an indictment on the mayors, municipal managers, HODs, directors of departments. How, in some cases, you'll find in departments, there are grants that are not even spent. So how does the department have money that you haven't spent? When you can see on the ground, there is such a huge need for infrastructure to be upgraded, but you're sending money back to a department. So these are the kind of things that I think councillors must talk about, read their documents, understand, but as communities, I think we need to play a more active role, and we just really need to unite around that. And maybe to also understand how the structures in local government work. How does the budgets work? What is the finance committee there for? What is the municipal public accounts there for? I mean, I said where you're scrutinizing and you're holding people to account. But the lack of consequence management is something we must all talk about and be concerned about. When someone mismanages funds, there is no consequence. The person is just left there or maybe shifted. So these are the kind of important things I think as communities that we need to engage on. And like I said, a show for another day, we'll talk about accountability. And I also see that accountability ecosystems is something that the Auditor General speak about in her report when she tabled the 2021-2022 audit report. It just doesn't paint a good picture for most municipalities, and that includes the city of Johannesburg.
Yes, Jazakallah for that, Zarina. And I'm going to ask both Imraan, Moosa, and Nokuthula. And I will raise this question once. I will ask Nokuthula firstly to comment, and then I'll ask Imraan. And I see there are certain comments that have come through from our viewers. And there was one that came up earlier talking about a Ward 8 councillor going AWOL and haven't been seen. And the same person talks about the big stink in Lenasia and saying the current councillors must be checked up or else replaced. We are now tired of being the targets for crime in Lenasia. And just the point that Zarina had also made for both the councillors to take note is just to look at the level of engagement that you have with the powers that be as you represent people in your wards. And it's not about, as Zarina says, simply taking messages across or passing a message. There has got to be a lot more engagement with the powers that be. And just, Nokuthula, if you could just comment on that, on your level, and how seriously do you take your engagement when you are dealing or when you are talking to the authorities or attending any meetings?
I think first what we need to do as the community of Lenasia, it is to unite and work together. Because when we
yes,
fight,
Nokuthula, I know the community needs to unite, but what I'm saying is I'm talking of the responsibility on the part of the ward councillor and your level of engagement with the authorities.
Okay. As Zarina has said, in the communities of Section 79, we are discussing issues that are affecting our wards. But what I also want to bring to your attention is the fact that one councillor cannot be in all the Section 79 committees. So what is important is to understand who are the councillors that are in that committee and take them through the challenges you're going through so that they can address them and they can be tabled in the chamber when the full council is there. So our job is to do that and make sure that we sit on those municipal entities and make noise until somebody listens to us.
Well, thank you for that. Imraan, Moosa, just to bring you in, and I'm sure you've heard the question, just your comment.
Yes. Thank you so much, Inayat. I think programs like this gives a very comprehensive and good understanding of where we're standing as local councillors, as well as the problems and dynamics of, the constituents. But, what I would like to say is that I would like you to invite us again to your show, because this session is definitely not enough for us to go in detail as to some of the questions and some of the inputs that have been put in. But just by and large, let me just give you a good perspective of where we're standing. Is that Nasar mentioned that, Lenasia is just one part of a very big puzzle. And I totally agree with you, Nasar, that it is one part of a very big puzzle. And that big puzzle is South Africa. And we're one small constituent that are trying to solve our problems here in Lenasia. And there is no doubt that, the structures work nationally, provincially, and locally. And one needs to understand this dynamics as local residents in Lenasia. So secondly, the point that I really want to drive through, Inayat, is, you've mentioned very aptly and correctly that ratepayers are paying. How many of them are paying, considering the COVID, the unemployment, and the poverty that we have, and considering the lack of housing presently? So my question is that, I love what Zarina says, that we need hope, and I love what Imraan says, that we need positivity. So if you take all these ingredients together, and you take what Ebrahim is saying, that what a difference can we make? So these type of discussions and panels help the community to unite and make a difference in terms of collaboration. So let me just tell Nasar that as much as that, I think sometimes our facts need to be true and factual of happenings, because sometimes it can get skewed out. In terms of the limited budgets that we have as Lenasia, I can tell you safely that Lenasia's at least 80% of potholes has been filled in. If you look at Lenasia, just from the Klipspruit near the Klipspruit Road where Trade Route Mall is, coming to Shiraz Delta, that whole road has been fixed. We've prioritized it. We've put a lot of pressure on JRA. Me as a councillor, I've been pushing quite a bit in council. I've stopped the MMC in his tracks at one stage, and this is evident in some of the council meetings that we have, and I made it very clear that we need budgets for Lenasia. We've also, I've invited the public, and Zarina is absolutely correct. We only had 6 people there, the IDP. So it's engagement of public. So my drive is as follows. We got a choice as residents. We know South Africa is in a mess. Let's not look at Lenasia. South Africa is in a mess. There's a housing crisis. There's an unemployment crisis. There's a poverty crisis. And there's an informal crisis around our constituents. How do we solve it? Becoming proactive citizens, becoming positive, and solving our problems within ourselves. It's senseless relying on government when we know that there's so much happening. I also want to place on record very clearly in terms of the approval of the taxi rank. This was done prior my time. Many of the issues raised are backlogs of 10 years. I've come in this 1 year, and with the grace and mercy of Almighty, I think about 80% of the potholes have been solved. Many of the street lights, one day when I was driving with Wasim, I actually showed him on the back road that never in the history of Lenasia has street lights been sorted out as it's been currently. So I think we are succeeding, a slow but sure pace. We are putting pressure on council, no doubt about it, but you have the choice as a resident, as a panel, to make sure, ensure that we can make a difference, and we do this in unity as a community to ensure that we can achieve our goals. South Africa is a mess, we agree. We agree that you are paying your rates. Half of us, we know, are not paying rates, and I've given you the reasons. It's COVID, it's unemployment, it's poverty. So what do? Put our hands up? You have the choice. And that's I leave you with this on the panel to say you have the choice as a resident, in as much as whatever we're getting from government, we are reliant upon national, provincial, and local. Whatever budgets we get, as much as we put pressure, we've invited the community several times to engage. I've sent out to 100,000 people in Lenasia. In recent times, there's been high proactive and vibrant engagement with the community. I must also mention that the IDP that Zarina is mentioning, it was an opportunity for us. I've also given the opportunity to Lenasians to say, there's MMC Councillor Sadabi offering, whatever your budgets are, whatever your needs are, please submit it. We've asked Lenasians, we're requesting, and we're pleading Lenasians to work with us as a city so that we can achieve our goals. Together we can achieve more. In unity, the community can make a difference. Jazakallah khairan.
Well, shukran for that, Imraan. And I just want to bring Nazar in, and as much as Imraan talks about half of people that are not paying as a result of COVID, unemployment, or for many other reasons, let us also remember that there are people that are being paid for not doing their jobs. And I think we should not forget that. We use COVID, obviously, we've been through a difficult period. But again, if you took funds from other areas like service delivery and you took them as part of COVID funds, why are we having PPE scandals? Where is that money gone? And these are the questions that we need to be raising. Just today, I heard about 12 SARS officials who have been paid something like 12 million rand for a year. They have been suspended for doing absolutely nothing. And we see this in council. We see it in many other government departments where COVID has been used as an excuse, where people work a week, where they don't work another week. And what are they sitting and what are they doing at home, and where they should be serving the needs of the residents, Nazar?
Sorry, United, can I just, come in one more point I'd like to just make clear here.
Imraan, I just want Nazar quickly. I'll try and see if I can't put you in at the end. We are obviously running out of time. I've got another show. I'm moving that to around 8:25, and I think we need to get through the rest of the panel. So if you could please hold on, Imraan. Nazar, continue. If you could unmute your mic, please, Nazar.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Hello? Yeah, I think obviously as citizens and as residents, we need to change our approach in terms of service delivery and in terms of how it is that we move forward. Clearly, party politics has not helped us. Initiatives like residents association, civic associations, where we talk of collaboratively seeking to rebuild communities, within communities, by communities, for communities, maybe the only other alternative that we are going to have going forward. Because when you talk of collaborating and you talk of uniting, there is nothing more collaborating and uniting as a residents association or civic association, because you have the freedom of not having to toe party lines, and where you can be selfish, if for lack of a better word, where you can be selfish in terms of championing the needs for your community, and that everything is driven particularly for the community, because your only mandate is to serve the community. And then also agreeing that as much as we talk of COVID, as much as we talk of poverty, etc., the fact of the matter is we are where we are because of malfeasance. We are where we are because of corruption. Monies that could have been spent in developing communities and creating employment and economic opportunities has obviously been diverted to fat cats. So a change in the approach, I think, is what is going to take us forward. That's my opinion. Jazakallah.
Yes, Jazakallah for that. And I see we've got about 10 minutes or so. And we've got, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people to get through. So just for about a minute or so, or just over a minute, starting off with Imraan Seedat. Just final thoughts, Imraan. Yes, I think Imraan is not with us. Wasim, shall we continue with you just to basically round off and just some final thoughts on what we have been discussing? If you could just unmute your mic, please, Wasim.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, Jazakallah, right? It's been a pleasure to be here once again. I echo, in final thoughts, I echo what Nazar has said. I think he's articulated it quite well. In that, the way I see it is the public of Lenasia, like the public across South Africa in a lot of parts, have a tremendous amount of distrust and have lost a lot of confidence in elected officials, in public officials, in government generally. And we shouldn't underestimate the importance of civic groups like the Lenasia Residents Association, which I believe is the best hope in getting Lenasia right eventually. I mean, this is not just an endorsement of them, it's an endorsement of the public of Lenasia, because a group like that represents the people, whereas individual politicians, and that will always represent their party. And we have to be wary of that aspect. We need leadership that will truly reflect the will of the people, and that's important if Lenasia is ever to come right again. Jazakallah.
Yes, shukran for that, Walaikum Salam. I'm going across to Nokuthula. Final thoughts? You've got about a minute.
Thank you. What I want to say is that we need to go back to the drawing board as councillors and the civic groups, as well as the community, and find a way to work together and hold the government responsible for what they are not doing right for the communities. And also, if the councillors are not coming to the party, they need to be held accountable also. So that's all from me.
Yes, thank you for that, Nokuthula. I would obviously raise the question, do we still have the drawing board? Is the drawing board still there at this point in time? But that is just on a lighter note. Just looking at, I see Imraan Seedat is back with us. Imraan?
Maaf, I missed quite a bit. I think it was my connection. I went off and on. I think we are closing remarks, if I'm correct.
Yes, please, Imraan. Finding a way forward.
Okay, I just want to... Okay, finding a way forward. I think I made mention as to what I think we should be doing, and a way forward is basically communication with council via councillors. I think that's as much as I could say on this panel at the moment. Thank you.
Well, shukran for that. And we have got Zarina. Zarina? Unmute, please, Zarina. Please unmute.
Thanks, Inai. For the project I'm involved in, Action for Accountability with Civic Activism in the project for Lenasia, Ward 9 in particular, on a 3-year term. I'm really going to take this to the media, and we're going to call together for civic activism in a very progressive and a very formulated way. We're going to be working with the councillors. We're going to work with the City of Johannesburg. And I'm really going to come out there and ask the community to join us in our civic activism for a bottom-up approach so we can be heard by the powers that be. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ebrahim Asvat.
Thanks, Inayat. Just from the Community Policing Forum, our door is always open. Please come sit and talk to us. Come and engage with us. We might not be perfect, but we're there. Come and assist if you want to assist. We're ready, we're open, we can sit. We can only solve things through dialogue. But talking on the corners and everywhere else besides talking to us doesn't help. So please come sit with us, open a dialogue with us, or even join us, and we can make a difference. Thanks.
Shukran for that. Imraan Moosa.
Jazakallah khairan, Inayat, and to Salam Media for hosting this program, and I hope that you will be having many more of these programs. I definitely agree that party politics does flow down sometimes to divide communities. In the last year and 3 months, I think it's quite evident that I have conducted myself in a manner that has total accessibility to the public, to the residents, and I'm making it clear here on this particular panel. I've never ever been approached by the LRA, neither by some of the other politicians, and you can see politics does play a role. With respect, Imraan has been a candidate for the DA, and the DA approved the taxi rank. So there's some contradictions in terms of the taxi rank approval. It was done by the DA prior my time. I inherited it. I'm placing on record that I inherited it, and I took it forward to the best upliftment and benefit of Lenasia. It is true that sometimes motives and agendas play out, and it is very clear on the program here. From what I see, it does come out. And, you know, I always believe in a very good, clean slogan: truth always prevails over falsehood. That is one. And sometimes our motives come out clear as we discuss and we open up topics of discussion. So I am committed to Lenasia. I have 296 groups in Lenasia. I am easily accessible. Up until to date, in the 1 year, 3 months, I have never been approached in a manner that is conducive, that will collaborate for the benefit of Lenasia.
You know, obviously I asked for a minute. My time obviously is running out. I've got another show. Just very, very quickly, 30 seconds, Imraan, Seedat just wants to respond to you. But it's going to be very quickly, please, Imraan. I am running out of time.
Jazakallah so much. I just, as the council has put it on record, he's claiming that the Lenasia residents has not met with him. We have documented minutes of Councillor Moosa with the register attending LRA's office meetings for us to engage with him. We've also sent emails to him as well as the regional director and city officials. So if he wants to come out in public and make such false accusations against an organization that is trying in its best interest to work for Lenasia, he needs to really curb his tongue when he's speaking, especially with regards to myself. Okay. At every single public meeting, at every single public meeting, sir, Mr. Moosa, you bring this up. Imraan Seedat. I had not intended to bring this up. I have not brought it up. I have never attacked you openly up front, which you continuously do. You need to curb your tongue.
Imraan,
thank you, sir.
Yes,
thank
okay.
You,
point noted, point taken, Imraan. I'm really, I am really pressed for time, and we have basically overrun, and I'm sure that we will leave for another day. Nazar, I'll give you the honor of having the last word. If you unmute your mic, of course.
Jazakallah for the invite, for the discussion. I believe that we can only go forward when we have discussions. Sometimes it's got to be painful. Without pain, without the discomfort, there's no change. With regards to Zarina and her project, it sounds interesting. It sounds exciting. And obviously, the only way that we are going to be making a difference is that we need to go back to the bottom, We need to engage with our community members, and obviously, people approach is bottoms up. Jazakallah.
Shukran for that, Nazar, and to all of you, to Wasim Kamruddin, Imraan Moosa, to Nazar Lunat, Ebrahim Asvat, Zarina Motala, Imraan Seedat, and also to Nokuthula, Nofemela. We thank all of you for being part of this panel discussion. And as we were advertising tonight's broadcast, we actually had a request coming out of Durban for next week. Possibly, most likely, we will be assembling a panel out of Durban to discuss service delivery and related issues coming out of Durban. So it does appear that these requests are going to come through from across the country. But for now, thanking all of you. Please be safe. Please take care. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Walaikum
Walaikum
assalam.
assalam
wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakallah khairan for having us on your show.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Well, that brings us to the end of part one of tonight's edition of Wednesday Night with myself, Inayat Wadi. And this is obviously just scratching the surface. It is the tip of the iceberg. And I'm sure there's a lot more to come through. And as I mentioned, next week, I have got a request that has come out of Durban to host a similar panel discussion. So we definitely will pursue that as an option. The time is just gone, 22 minutes past 8 p.m. We come back and we are talking about Hajj and particularly about the countries out of Europe, the United Kingdom, and also looking at countries like Australia, the United States of America. These are countries that have obviously got major issues with regards to Hajj and the new system that has been introduced by the Saudi Hajj Ministry and the authorities, where Hujjaj can no longer book through Hajj operators. But these obviously have created major issues in the United Kingdom. And this evening, when we come back, we will be joined by one of the operators out of the United Kingdom, their thoughts, their feelings, and how is this likely to impact on Hajj. And also for those who judge who have already booked with these agents, it does create other issues, logistical issues, and much is being said, much is written. So stay with us. We'll be back.